Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A 75-year-old man went to a VFW the other night, and he saw a big, large woman dancing on a table. He said, "Good legs." The girl giggled and said, "Do you really think so?" He said, "Definitely. Most tables would have collapsed by now." That cost him about 6 stitches, but when you're 75, who cares? Good morning. Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in. Good morning. Oh, good morning to you on a doggone snowy Monday morning. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route service at 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir, and thank you for this opportunity. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, you're really on my naughty list because you haven't called for a long time. I want you to make sure you put your gold star up on the wall and leave it there and call more often.
Sir, if I was smart enough to talk to you like the others do, I would.
No, you're great. Hey, listen, now I want to ask you one quick question before you go. I'm going to ask almost all of my listeners this. What are your feelings? Good, bad, indifferent, Trump in office? I've got a great feeling, I'll tell you up front. What are yours? Real fast.
Oh, real happy about that. Just hope the liberals can stand it.
Amen. Amen. God bless you, and don't make yourself a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. I got to get a hold of Kyle later on this morning at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-6945. Look for the blue door. All your carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Right now, caller, I'll be with you in a minute. After the weather, here's Gina.
Well, we are looking at more snow showers in the forecast as we kick off the work week. Here is your weather for today. Snow likely anywhere from 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast. Now, we are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so that is our time frame of snow pretty much. Winds out of the northwest right around 18 miles an hour for today. High of 32, tonight low of 25. Hopefully those snow showers will be tapering off overnight. We are expecting another 1 to 3 inches in the overnight hours, low of 25. For tomorrow, looks like 50% chance of snow showers, still going to be a little bit on the breezy side. High of 26 with an overnight low of 18, then cloudy skies and 24 for Wednesday. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Carpet and flooring and kitchen construction, home decor items. Yes, whatever you need to make your house a home. At Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Look for the blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Caller, thank you so much. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you, Zeb Bell?
I am feeling absolutely great this morning. My attitude is great. Everything's great. What about you?
Well, I just wish these liberals would stop all their crying. They're shedding so many tears, it's starting to flood the country.
Well, I agree with you, and I'm sick and tired of their negative naysaying. I'm sick and tired of their actions. I'm sick and tired of... I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes as far as my sick and tired with the Democrats, the Demobrats, actually, and the liberal left. So, sir, I'm really excited about what this new administration can do.
Yeah. Well, it's time for the, what's the word I was going to use for the,
Well, you think about it and call me back, but right now we can't sit there and ponder and have dead air.
No. I knew what I wanted to say, it just slipped my mind, you know what I mean?
I have that happen a lot, sir. God bless me, and have a great, great day. Thank you.
Hey, you have a good one, too.
All right.
When the lunch bunch comes up.
I'll let you know, buddy. I felt that bad about canceling it the last time, believe me.
You had no choice.
I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, bye.
All right, buddy. Hey, by the way, I want to remind everybody, Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and they can restore old items, and you can take all your rumply crumplies in there, and they're going to look brand spanking new. And don't forget, you can get gift cards and give them to your friends, family, etc. What a nice gift. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Believe me, they are the best. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, my dear friends. Also want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Ramsey Heating and Electric, all your heating and electrical needs. And we're not done with Old Man Winter by a long shot, so make sure you remember to change the furnace filters. They've got all of them over there to keep your furnace running efficiently. Keep you warm and toasty at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and the number 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Let's take care of a couple of little items of business here real fast. It's all set to go. Super Bowl 50. I am getting old. I remember going over to the neighbors. This is a true story. Going over to the neighbors' Super Bowl 1 and watching the Green Bay Packers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs at the L.A. Coliseum. Now it's already Super Bowl 50. Yes, my Packers got defeated yesterday. You know, honestly, I think a lot of people would agree with me. They literally ran out of healthy players. They were decimated. They had another player, one of their starters on defense, go out on the first play, the kickoff. Well, anyway, congratulations to the Atlanta Falcons, and they will be playing the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl in Houston. And I thought I'd never say this, but go Falcons. I don't like the Patriots. Go Falcons. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, too, I want to remind you about Denny's Restaurant. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at America's Diner. It's all the time good. All the menu items delicious. Great people at 611 Overland at Burley and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Two great locations to serve you at Denny's Restaurant with the very, very best of the breakfasts and the lunches and the dinners. And you pick up the menu and you just go, oh my goodness, how do I pick? It's all good at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. Yep, America's Diner. I am really excited. I am. I feel good. I loved that speech in the inauguration. My wife and I sat and listened to it. Yes. For the news media like Chuck Todd at NBC and the rest of these, keep it nice, Zeb, left-wingers, it was dark. It was Hitleristic. That was the term that they threw around, and I was ready to go to fight over that one. I thought it was great because the gist of the inaugural speech was, we're going to make America great again, and we're going to make America number one again. America first. And all these people are just, oh no, why we're going to lose our friends. Oh, all those people that are our so-called friends, they want our money. Oh, they're tearing their hair out. I feel good about what he said. And he basically told the old establishment, the old system, get out of the way. We're coming through. I love that. I'm ecstatic that he put the left in a tizzy, in a tailspin. And for instance, I got to tell you about the left this morning. If you didn't hear this, you should know about it. And it goes to these women's marches. Now, I'm opening up a Pandora's box of problems here. But I think we've got enough sensible women listening to this program that they'll call and respond. And hold on, caller, I'll be right there. The idiocy and incompetency and the absolute outright stupidity of Madonna saying, well, I want to go blow up the White House. If any of us made a blatant threat like that, believe me, there would be a knock on the door and there'd be some people in three-piece suits waiting to come in and talk to you. The Secret Service. And I understand this morning they may be investigating Madonna, which is good. This was insanity. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I find it funny that the liberal left whines and complains about making America great, and you're talking about their friends that they'll upset, the ones that they put money in their left hand and their so-called friend smacks them up alongside the head with a stick on the other. I mean, ever since the last 8 years, I have not seen anything progressive for the United States of America. It's always been about helping China or best interest in climate change for another country.
Oh, yeah.
It's never been about the U.S. of A. and how to keep us going strong and how to keep the working class working so we can make it great and get better ourselves. It's always been about who's going to get what money from what rich individual.
Yeah.
And, I've never worked for a poor person in my life, so I'll let you go with that thought.
No, wait a minute. It's the idiocy and incompetency even espoused by the liberals and the ne'er-do-wells in this area, and they believe in globalization. Oh, we've got to help those. You know what? I'm a little bit more in favor of helping us start to climb up the ladder again so that we can financially help other people.
Well, and I agree, and it's a pity. It really is, and it's a shame, and my heart goes out to those people in other countries that are getting murdered by the millions or thousands, hundreds of thousands for their beliefs, and the ones starving to death, and the children that are suffering because of it. I feel bad for them. I truly, honestly do. But we can't do anything until we take care of ourselves.
Amen.
To minimize it down, some people need to look at the United States as their own household. The more poorly your own household runs, the less likely you're able to help your neighbor in a time of need.
There you go. There you go, sir. I appreciate always your call. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. I want please, gals, help me out there. I want your calls about these women's marches over the weekend. I'm going to tell you right up front. I'm going to be very condescending to those marchers and the marches in general. I want you to call me and let me know right up front if you're mad at me for my attitude and my actions and my thoughts, or if you agree with me. And we'll get into that in a minute, but I think we've got some really good common sense ladies in our audience, and I'd like to hear from them. So please give me a call at 436-2244. And if you're not one of those that agrees with me, you're welcome to call too. I've got big shoulders. I can take it. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And believe me, they will help you get back to being you. Oh, yeah. yes, Nick Greenwell. Right after we get the next couple of weeks out of the way, I'm going to start going back down there again. I've got so many things I've got to take care of, and I want to make sure I commit myself to going back and having Nick and all the physical therapists really help me. Like I said, helping you get back to being you with all the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, everything. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. Okay, let's get into this because I'm sure we're going to raise the ire of a lot of people, but I'm going to be very blunt and come out and say that those women's marches were nothing more than left-wing ideologues trying to promote hatred against this administration and absolutely support left-wing leaning causes. Now, I have taken the time and effort to go through some of, pardon me, the newspapers that I subscribe to and cut out some of the highlights or lowlights of these marches. One in particular said, this woman said, "I think it's great, do your thing, but I just don't know what they're doing it for. They're talking about rights, women's rights, but what rights are being taken away from any woman?" That was written by Susan Clark, a 50-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina. And there were over 600 sister marches, they said, planned around the United States and the world, for that matter. And I honestly thought it was much ado about nothing. Absolutely nothing. But the left trying to stir up more trouble, more unrest, more uncivility. I would like you to call me. Please do not pass up this opportunity. Let me know your thoughts. Either you agree or you disagree with me. Ladies, I'd like to hear from you. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, I'm not a lady, Steph. It never will be, but I'm elated with what he's done already. He's done something that Michelle Obama has been trying to do for the last 8 years. Get middle-aged, heavy women out exercising. Within 2 hours of the inauguration, they was all out there exercising. So that's all it took for him to get inaugurated.
Well, and let's be fair, a lot of us that are, whether we're 25, 45, 65 or older, we all could stand a lot of exercise. But I understand your point, and I thank you for your call.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Come on, ladies, call me on this, please. All the big women's marches. For what? To condemn Donald Trump and his presidency? Yeah. To raise questions, ire, and strife and motivation against the next 4 years? Yeah. But when they started saying about their rights being taken away, what? When they start talking about how people are going to be subjected to just low-class treatment and everything else, what? Explain this. Nobody in any of these marches came out and gave a bona fide reason as to what's really going on, what they're really marching for, what they hope to achieve, other than insurrection, instability, and hatred against the next 4 years. This is unreal. The crowd had signs of, I am very upset. Okay, fine, so you're upset. Gee whiz, the world goes on. Love Trump, love Trump's hate. Naturally, they had to get that in there. Bridges, not walls. Baloney. You tell me a society anywhere in history that didn't have some kind of an evaluation system and control system to keep people that were not citizens of that country, respectively, out of their country unless they came in legally. We're the only ones that are dumb enough to leave it like it is. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bob.
Thank you for your call because, you have always had the ability to be very forthright and honest, and I'm going to look for that right now this morning. Donna, honestly, Am I wrong? If so, tell me.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I agree with you. My opinion of some of these women that are protesting, there was one on Fox News yesterday, and I think it was Judge Jeanine asked her, "Why are you protesting?" She goes, "Well, I'm protesting for abortion." And I looked at the screen and I looked at George and I went, "What is she thinking?"
Yeah.
I really don't think they know what they want to protest or what they're protesting for. They need to go home, look in the mirror, and take a good look at their families, and then start fixing their own home.
Yeah, Donna, just a minute. Give me a second to interject with you here. One of the people in D.C. that was interviewed, and listen to this. I mean, I want you to respond to this. This woman said, "Oh, well, listen, everybody's being insulted and threatened. Immigrants of all statuses, Muslims and those of diverse religious faiths, people who identify as LGBTQIA, whichever in the heck that all means, Native Americans, black and brown people, people with disabilities, survivors of sexual assault. All of these people are hurting and scared." Donna, would you please tell me, with Donald Trump only being in office in 4 days, how in the world did he manage to hurt all those people?
I don't know. I think they're just, I can't explain it, Seb. Donald Trump was not my first choice, but he is now the President of the United States, and I believe that the good Lord up above put him in office because we need change that's going to help us.
Yes,
all.
absolutely.
And as far as the illegal immigration and LGBT, whatever the heck that is, go back in the closet and leave us alone. Quit trying to enforce all your beliefs on that.
Amen.
Trump is going to do the best he can with what he has to work with.
Okay, as a woman, real short answer on this, Donna, because I'm late. But as a lady, please tell me, since the inauguration on Friday, what rights or equality values has Trump taken away from you?
None.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
God bless you, Donna. Thanks. This is insane, and I'm going to take a little heat over this, but I don't care. I don't care. The liberal loons in our society are trying to become so prevalent, and they're trying to stir up so much hatred. And it makes no sense. Stories about Ketchum, Idaho. Oh, my goodness, the women came out in numbers. Stories about Washington, D.C. Oh, they came out in numbers. Oh, we're losing so much rights. Oh, my goodness. What? And then Michael Moore. He joined in with the women, and he said, along with others, that he was absolutely against Trump. And then they came out and said it's been a heart-rending time to be both a woman and an immigrant. No! If you're illegal as a so-called immigrant, you should absolutely be worried, because we're going to make it stronger so that the legality and the laws of this country are followed. But where in the world do they come off saying, it's been a heart-rending time to be a woman and an immigrant? Please! And then they go on to say, our dignity, our character, our rights have been under attack? Somebody have the nerve to call me and tell me what in the heck that means. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And the liberals sit out there going, "Oh, well, you're such a nasty man." Yeah, I know. Live with it. Let's be sure and remind you about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness sakes, what a wonderful, wonderful business. And Dr. Christine Pickup, she does a great job. And I urge you to contact her at 312-0957. and make an appointment for a hearing screening. I did. It's absolutely beneficial. Found out some of the problems I had in my right ear, and I urge you to do the same. And she can and will help you. The lovely Dr. Christine Pickup, and she knows all there is to know about hearing and sound. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, 312-0957. I'm going to give away right now a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. I just absolutely love Sophie's Chatterbox right there on the square in Rupert. And, boy, I'll tell you what, you better order your Valentine basket of Yum-Yums right now for your loved one. Get that taken care of. And besides that, all the cookies and everything, better than flowers. Flowers just croak and die and wilt, but the cookies... the taste goes on forever. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Now, these questions are designed only for first-time winners, please. Don't abuse the privilege, and the number to call, 436-2244. If you know the answer to this question, you might be the lucky winner of a dozen delicious cookies. How many spaghetti westerns did Clint Eastwood film in Spain in his career? How many spaghetti westerns did Clint Eastwood make in Spain? I'm not going to give you any more clues than that. Hurry, give me a call. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, I'm assuming 3.
Who is this?
$2 for a few dollars more, a fistful of dollars, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Boy, that name kind of fits both of us right there, doesn't it? Who is this, Randy?
Well, the good and the ugly, but the bad is Madonna.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hold on a second, Golay. Don't go so fast. I got to write your name down. And you want a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Call over there and let them know when you're going to be over there for your cookies, doggone it, because you're right. Clint Eastwood made 3 movies that were called spaghetti westerns. You're spot on.
Hey, by the way, this thing with Schumer and how he is, he thinks he's got some sort of reason to be a posterior man. I don't think Trump or any of this staff is going to tolerate much of this press. And Schumer, I think that Trump will get things accomplished. And, it's going to be hard to beat it. The will of this man is like nothing we've ever seen.
Have you heard, or did you hear, excerpts of his meeting with the corporate business owners this morning? Absolutely. It was one of the best meetings, very forthright. He sat there at this huge table with them and looked them in the eye and told them what he was going to do to try to help stimulate their business, their growth, their economic practices, the employment. I mean, I'm optimistic, and I'm sick and tired of the liberal left, especially the media, lying. I'm going to use that terminology because it's true. Lying about what's going on after only 3.5 days of this administration.
Well, I think that when they realize what is actually going to happen with this candidate or with this president, that what they have accomplished since the end of World War II will be set back to there. And so they are truly in a place, no man's land. The Democrats are in no man's land, and Trump is so serious about being successful that, and he is an open-minded man. We can see that by all the people that came to Trump Tower.
I appreciate your call as always, Randy. God bless. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat your cookies. All right, buddy.
Careful. I got to go to Pocatello because I don't have any choice, and It's treacherous, boys.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Be careful out there, world. Please. Thank you. Come on, ladies, please. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid about, oh, my neighbor might hear me on the radio. Come on. I know there's some really strong ladies. Donna called earlier, broke the ice. Thank you, Donna. I want your opinion about this. I see this as much ado about nothing. A waste of time, effort, and resources, and a lot of ink for the papers and film for the camera. What are your thoughts? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll tell you about what one young woman said. She's about 32 years old. She was on television early this morning. We'll get into that in just a minute. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't you dare go away. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. Equipment rentals, equipment sales. I mean, they've got those big Doosan loaders for all the dairies and the feedlots. They've got all the Bobcat equipment. I mean, get a hold of them today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts. Jerome, Twin Falls, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I'm a coming caller. Don't go away. I promise I'll be right there. I've got to quickly remind everybody about our sponsor of Dr. History on Tuesdays, and that, of course, is Zach and the crew over at Mini-Cash Sales. You better get those windows replaced. Oh, your drafty old windows? They've got the new Great Western windows. Don't let that cold air inside the house, and call Zach today. They'll get a contractor over there for the installation work. Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, sponsoring Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. I just cannot agree with you more. I think that Mr. Trump is a very successful businessman, and he knows about being knocked down and getting up. And you know what? I think he's got a tough skin.
Let me ask.
Plans for this country, and let's not hinder it.
Okay, now let's break this down. You are a very, very well-educated lady, and I certainly appreciate your comments. And if you don't agree with me, I know you'll tell me. But really, what in the world was all this lunacy about with these marches through the various streets of various cities across the United States, other than a liberal crybaby, whoa, 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 we lost? Tell me, give me a valid reason.
I can't, because they are spoiled brats. They've had their way all of their life. And they think that they are so much smarter than the rest of America. Why in the world would we be so stupid as to vote the way we did?
Well, let me ask you this.
I think that's how they look at us.
Yeah. There was a young woman on television this morning, and I'll just kind of give you a rough synopsis of what she said. She was absolutely disgusted with the women that participated in these marches. She said they were foolish, and she said to get over it, work in your communities against child abuse, spousal abuse, violence, and stop blaming Trump for everything because he's only been in office for 3.5 days. Would you concur with that?
Well, I just am embarrassed when my fellow females are making the rest of us look like we're a bunch of pansies. And honestly, Western women are tough, and we women go into our marriages as partners. And we feel like we have as every bit of right of choosing a president as those women do. And the only thing they've got going for them is somewhere along the way they got lucky and made a bunch of money.
Okay, but when they make these stupid, frivolous, absolutely NRB statements, NRB stands for not real bright, about how their rights are being taken away, please stop for a minute, think about that, and tell me what in the devil are they talking about with rights being taken away now that Trump's president? Please help me.
I haven't noticed him shredding the Constitution and putting a new bunch of rules on there. And what are our rights in the United States? They are freedom. They are. We can speak out when we disagree. We have a vote, and we have the right to succeed or fail.
Okay, so all these...
I mean, you know, we've got all the Bill of Rights and all of our Constitution and everything, but it spells out. Get off your duff. Make America great.
Yeah.
And an obstacle.
And have you not been, please tell me if you have, because if you have been, somehow I will apologize. Have I never treated you with respect? Have you been treated with ill respect at other places by the men in our society? I mean, have you lost your respect? What's going on here when they say that?
I don't know. I've got 2 sons. I grew up in a household of brothers. And I turned out to be pretty normal.
Well, when some stupid...
I got along with my brothers and the men in my life. And, in fact, a lot of times I'd rather do business with men.
Well, when some stupid Hollywood actress makes a quote, and her name, by the way, is America Ferrera. I don't even know who this woman is. Yeah, she made this comment. She said, "Our dignity, our character, our rights have been under attack." Would you explain that to me, Chris? Please help me.
I'm afraid I can't see it. I don't have her eyes. I don't see it. I think that she needs to get out of the city and breathe a little fresh air out here on the wide open spaces and take a real look at America. And our rights are to get out of bed in the morning and make a choice of whether we're going to succeed or not, and it's up to us.
Oh, I love you. That was so well put. Thank you, God bless you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. That lady just summed it up right there. You know, and then there was this comment by another person. They were talking about Trump and his platform, and they said, the platform calls for ending violence against women. Oh, this is their platform. I mean, the women in the march had against Trump. The platform of our march calls for ending violence against women, workers' rights, reproductive rights, environmental justice, and immigrant rights, and more. First of all, I need somebody to explain to me what immigrant rights are. If you're here illegally, which means you came in the dead of night and you're here illegally and you're not a citizen of this country, what the heck rights do you have? Caller, be right there. Stand by. Don't forget, our dear friends at Rutter's Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're having their annual January clearance sale right now at Rutter's Showcase. Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid appliances on sale. All the sort of mattresses on sale. Oh, my goodness, a great big selection of Stanton furniture on clearance and up to 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. Where? Right now at Rutter's Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You know, I'm like a lot of other GIs that spend time overseas, and I've seen these women in Korea and Vietnam being treated just the way the cattle were. They're working out in the fields, or working out in the rice fields, and most of these people out there demonstrating have probably never left their state or the country.
Okay, all right. But now, that's not the case here in America, for heaven's sakes.
Well, you would think it is. You know, this guy Barack Obama has brought this country down to its knees in 8 years. Now here we've got somebody like Donald Trump that got things going before he was put in the White House. Let's give this guy a chance to do what he's going to do.
Amen.
And he's going to get this country straightened up. So all these women that are out there complaining about their rights being taken away, they're going to be eating crow pretty soon.
You know, and I hope it's a huge platter with not much as far as other amenities. I am so sick and tired of the liberal left being a bunch of wah-wah crybabies, and that's exactly what they are. And I'm glad to hear you say what you said. My wife, my lady that I respect, and she's been my wife for 45 years, she is my equal partner in this business, and believe me, I respect her, I love her, and I don't know what I would ever do without her. But to hear these crybaby women, evidently they've had some bad home lives to the tune of maybe millions of them because they were so weak-kneed they couldn't stand up for themselves. I don't know what the problem is, but I absolutely think these marches were a complete frivolous waste of time.
Well, personally, I think we may have the system like the Red Brigade starting up here in this country.
I agree. You know, I read so many articles on this march, or these marches in plural, and when I listened to this lady, this young woman on television this morning, about 32, 33 years old, she said she called all these women that were marching whiners, not winners, that were full of hate and full of hot air. Amen, wouldn't you say?
Well, you're right. She's right. And I have a lot of compassion for those women I saw out in the fields overseas, different countries.
Absolutely.
Working next to the cattle, and they weren't being treated any differently than the cattle.
You know, and it's such a shame in those societies. I don't even want to talk about it because it makes me mad because, like I said, my wife is so special to me, and she's done so much to help me, especially in the last couple of years with some health problems. And I know her feelings about that march or marches, and I'll guarantee you not one of those women better get in her face. You ain't seen nobody mad till Goober gets mad. Okay, God bless you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
All righty. Got to get the weather in here. I'm running late, and then I'll take some more calls. Come on, ladies, call me on this. Oh, I can just imagine the liberals out there in the audience. Oh, they're fuming. Why, the snow on their housetop roof is melting. They're so mad. Good. Don't forget our weather is brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. They're open 7 days a week, minor emergencies, major care. They've got excellent people working there to take care of the cuts and the stitches and the coughs and the fevers and everything else. Please remember the Urgent Cares serving you. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we are looking at more snow showers in the forecast as we kick off the work week. Here is your weather for today. Snow likely anywhere from 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast. Now we are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that is our time frame of snow pretty much. Winds out of the northwest right around 18 miles an hour for today. High of 32, tonight low of 25. Hopefully those snow showers will be tapering off overnight. We are expecting another 1 to 3 inches in the overnight hours, low of 25. For tomorrow, looks like 50% chance of snow showers, still going to be a little bit on the breezy side. High of 26 with an overnight low of 18, then cloudy skies and 24 for Wednesday. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, along with Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin Falls. Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. You know, I can imagine the likes of the Ketchumites, the women up there, and others that are of liberal persuasion. Oh, did you hear that nasty radio talk show denigrate our marches? Well, just really think about what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're advocating, because it does not make any sense. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Are you going to yell and scream and holler at me?
No, sir.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, it just, I've listened to that, and I could understand him out marching if Donald Trump was pushing to take something away.
Yeah.
But he's not.
Okay.
And he hasn't. So they're doing this just for notoriety because they got hurt feelings because their candidate didn't win, And what I loved about Webb was out there talking to him. He said more than half of them he talked to didn't even vote.
Yeah, that's right. Doug, wait a minute. You're married to a lovely lady. And let's just keep this on a personal basis between, like, my family, your family, etc. What did your wife say about these marchers?
Well, I can't tell it on the air, Zeb.
Okay.
But she did have a humorous comment, though. She says, at least Trump in one day has got more women out exercising than Mrs. Obama did in 8 years.
You know, that's what that other gentleman said. Tony said that earlier, and he's 100% right. But, you know, the whole thing boils down to, you know as well as I do, the naysayers and the NRBs, the not real brights, they're going to come after me for bringing this up in a negative slant against these marches. But when you have people like Madonna and Ashley Judd and Michael Moore, that ought to tell you a whole bunch. And when Madonna stands up there at the microphone and says, well, I've wanted to blow up the White House, if you or I said anything like that, the Secret Service would surround our house and have us in handcuffs.
You bet. And the media would have went nuts, especially if Obama was in office.
Yeah.
The media would have went crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, no, it's a new day, and these people, they're gonna use a lot of crying towels.
Well,
One thing about. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you look at all the excerpts of all of the stories about these marches and the full coverage like they gave in the Times News even, and all these other papers, the New York Times and in Salt Lake City and everything, and they're all sitting there going, well, we've got to stand up for our rights. Why, we're losing our rights, our dignity, our character. And that's where I draw the line and say, oh, really? How?
First off, they can't name a right they're losing.
That's right.
They can't.
You know,
it's just for show. It's just they got hurt feelings.
Yep.
And, you know, with the Trump coming in there and one of the executive orders to ease the burden of Obamacare.
Yeah.
You heard what Judge Napolitano said about that?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yep.
And he says that is fantastic. It's a great move.
You know, here's what's going to be funny, and caller number 2, stand there, I'll be right there. Here's what's going to be funny, Doug, tomorrow and the next day to read you the emails of hatred from the liberal left women out in the audience, and I'm going to read them all as a badge of courage.
Well, why don't they call and voice their opinion?
I wish they would, but they are the NRBs with not very much courage. Thank you very much, Doug. I got to get this in.
Maybe their Obama phone got cut off.
Oh, might have. They didn't pay their bill. Okay. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Snake River Auto Body and Paint with my friends Kenny and Dan, the whole crew. Man, they are the best. How do I know? Because my four-wheeled Wonders got dinged up a couple of times, and we've had to go in there, get a great estimate, and schedule for repair, and it comes out looking brand spanking new. These people are good. I absolutely recommend them. Snake River Auto Body and Paint, 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls. Call them today at 734-5790. That number again, 734-5790. These are the good guys that can make your vehicle look really good again. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning, Deb. The more you talk about these ladies out doing their women's rights thing, it's really insulting to me because it's insulting to my wife. She works very hard, just like yours. And when we got married, it wasn't she's my wife as much as I am her husband. We're together as a one team instead of two individual people.
Yep.
And she made a good point. She said, you know, with Trump now, maybe I can get some right backs to where I can go see the doctor of my choosing, my doctor, instead of go whatever happens to be on the insurance exchange or what have you. So,
excellent point. I don't mean to rush you, right?
For our little girl as well.
Absolutely.
You don't want to go to the same family doctor for 15 years and then be told one day, well, he's no longer in the network. And you're SOL.
Yep. I got another call, Riley, and I'm not trying to be rude to you, but I've only got 4 minutes left. Thank you, sir. God bless you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb?
Real fast.
Someone should have given Hillary another jar full of lemon juice at the inauguration. She sure had a nice smile and look on her face.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
And one other thing, did you notice Bill's eyes went to the new First Lady?
Bill's eyes have gone to a lot of ladies, Robert.
I know that.
And
I just thought you wanted to know about the lemon juice and the First Lady. Okay, have a good day, Zeb.
all right, God bless you, man. Thanks.
Everything you said.
Thank you.
Women that are marching are damn poor citizens of the United States of America. Thank you and have a good day.
God bless you, man. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Oh, I know I'm going to take heat over this last hour, but I don't care because it's factual and it's the truth. They have absolutely, honestly, no clue what they were arguing about, marching about, or dissenting about. Honestly. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and I mean serving you. Look outside. I got to get the snowplow going after the program. And they've got all your snow and ice and traction tires. My. You better stop over and see them today. Don't you be sliding around out on these roads. Check out the traction tires. Check out, of course, the tire chains. Check out the very best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and so much more, along with the absolute best in service. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we'll stand under the firestorm that I'm sure probably is going to happen with the emails and the negativity on all the left loon accounts. But go ahead, have fun with it. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, Zeb at the Ranch, and our next guest will be an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation talking about water. Don't miss that. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back in a few minutes. Oh my, here we go. Pardon me, my throat is all raspy this morning and trying to get a little bit of a cold that I'm trying to get rid of. Deanne, what are you looking at down the highway there? A truck is trying to turn around in the middle of the road? That's not a good thing to do with these snowy conditions. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, I tell you what, I brag on these folks every day, but it's not brag when it's fact. They are the best, absolutely the best. And call, get on the route service. They'll be there once a week to pick up your garbage. You can wave goodbye to your garbage. It's gone, it's out of there with the professionals. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Call that number today, get on the route service, because remember, Western Waste Services always at your disposal. Very good. Oh, and by the way, I know somebody else that's there to help you every day with your animals. Oh, these folks are good, and they have warm hearts for cold noses. We're talking about Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number to call, number to remember, 678-1177. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole crew over there. Mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They do love and care for them all. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number 678-1177. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines and talk to one of the attorneys with the Pacific Legal Foundation. I think I've had this man on the program before, but we'll ask him. Good morning, Mark Miller. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Great to be with you again.
Where are you calling in from, sir?
I am the managing attorney down in Florida. You and I have spoken a few times, but I think your favorite conversation was about the Growler case, where we were fighting over how big a size beer container you could have.
I do remember that. I do. But, it's a little bit disingenuous for me to not be jealous of you down in Florida right now, where you probably have sunny conditions and 75 and 80 degrees, and right now it's snowing up here to beat the band.
Yes, sir, it is. I am looking outside, and there's not a cloud in the sky, and it is exactly what you said about between 75 and 80 degrees, no humidity.
I got to ask you, Mark, before we get too far into this thing, and I'm going to let my feelings be known right up front. I wear my emotions and my feelings on my sleeve, and I make no apologies for that. I am absolutely happy as a lark over the picks that Trump has made for the various cabinet positions. I think it's positive. I think we're going to see a resurgence in America and America first, and I especially like the one with Scott Pruitt at the EPA. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with you, Zeb, that I was a skeptic of President Trump in terms of whether he would actually follow through on what he said he wanted to do when he was in the campaign, just because I grew up in New Jersey and I would read him on the front page of the New York Post and New York Daily News every day. And so I found it a little bit hard to believe that he would be the full-throated conservative that he now claims to be. But you can't argue with the appointments he's made so far, and I think the one you just highlighted, Scott Pruitt, is an excellent one to highlight. He would be fantastic, the Oklahoma Attorney General. He recognizes federalism and how important it is in our system. He recognizes the powers Congress has, and more importantly, the powers Congress doesn't have. And, of course, connected to that would be the powers that the EPA has versus the powers our Constitution does not allow for the EPA. And I think he would be, just like these other appointments, he would be an excellent appointment to roll back the overreaching federal government.
I am going to say this and mean this. It's about high time that the EPA got pushed into a corner and somebody put their hand right up on their shoulder and the other hand for emphasis right in front of them so they understood you have assumed powers that have hurt people, you've destroyed businesses, you've destroyed families, and now you're going to abide by a new set of rules and regulations, and we're going to be watching you like a hawk. I am sick and tired of the vulturistic attitude of the EPA. Maybe that's too strong for you, but that's the way I feel.
Well, actually, I've dedicated the last several years of my career, Zeb, to really basically what you just said, that the federal government overreaches all over the country. There is a place, when we talk about the EPA, for protecting the environment. We all want clean water.
That's right.
We all want animals to be protected. We all want land to be protected. But at the same time, our founding fathers knew that basically if we were not interfering with someone else, the government shouldn't be interfering with us. And the EPA has lost sight of that. And President Trump, to his credit, appears to understand that. He appears, because of his businesses, he knows what it's like to have to cut through red tape. And he's going to put in place people who will give us the opportunity here at PLF to start really cutting down and the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers and Fish and Wildlife Service and all the alphabet soup of government agencies that harass landowners who really are not trying to do anything other than usually make a living or live and, live and let live.
One of the cases that really bugged me, and I had him on my program and helped me with my old age memory, I believe his name was Andy Johnson over in Bridger, Wyoming, Fort Bridger, Wyoming. He developed a stock pond that absolutely was an enhancement for his property, and he got clearance from the state of Wyoming and everything. And then the feds came in through the EPA, and they were trying to fine him like $75,000 a day. This kind of absolutely Gestapo attitude has got to stop, and these people with the EPA need to take notice. No more of this.
Yes, and it looks like the appointments that Trump is going to make, not just at the cabinet level, but at the lower levels, are going to be the type of people who tell their bureaucrats to stand down. That someone like Andy Johnson, or the Sacketts, or the Hawks, the Pierces up in Minnesota with the Hawks Company. These are all cases PLF has taken to the Supreme Court and won, or in the case of Johnson, the government actually finally threw in the towel because they recognized how outrageous it was. And by the way, the the reason I think they recognize it is because even the liberal New York Times put that case on the front page. I had liberal friends calling me up and saying they were outraged by what was done to Annie Johnson. So if the libs are outraged, the EPA finally heard it. Unfortunately, nine times out of 100, the liberals don't care. They have no sympathy for the landowner who's simply trying to live his life, take care of his farm, take care of making a living. And in the Andy Johnson case or in the Sackett case or the Hawks, the Pierces, we have to go through the courts. And it would be nice if the agencies would simply stand down and stop harassing people without PLF having to sue them at every turn.
Let me ask you something, Mark, with your experience and expertise. How, and this is a very simplistic question, how did the EPA get so large, so dangerous on assumed powers? Those last two words, assumed powers. In other words, it's like going into a town, assuming that you're the sheriff, assuming that all the laws and edicts that you want to have are absolutely the way it's going to be. How did they get this done? Because they are basically operating on assumed power.
Well, Zeb, I think you can blame really all three branches of the federal government and say that each of them has a share of the blame for this. Congress has a share of the blame because they write laws that are vague, like, say, the Clean Water Act and the Clean Power Act and the Clean Air Act. And then they tell the agencies that are run by the executive agency, the president, that the agencies, you need to go fill in the gaps of these laws we've written. So then they write the rules and the regulations that maybe are not even consistent with what Congress wanted. So then you have Congress ceding power to those agencies grabbing power that they don't have, and so you're blaming the president there and the executive branch. And then finally, you've got the courts that look at what the agencies are doing, and traditionally over the last 30-plus years have been saying, we're going to defer to what the agencies have decided to do. It's a doctrine called Chevron deference. And so you have the agencies being sort of fiefdoms unto themselves. The courts are not going to second-guess them most of the time. The agencies are going to take the powers they want, and Congress is going to write them laws that let them do what they want. And so one of the things we're doing here at Pacific Legal, and many other organizations like us are doing, is trying to roll back the power of what we call the administrative state, that getting judges to look more carefully at what the agencies are doing and saying, no, this is not consistent with the Constitution. We're not going to defer to you anymore. But bottom line, to get at your question, this is something that's been growing since, I would say, FDR's time, the late 30s and early 40s, and hopefully the tide is turning, and the election of President Trump, it would appear, may be the impetus for turning the tide.
When you look at all the assumed powers and everything of the EPA, I would imagine that right now you and the rest of the legal organization, Pacific Legal Foundation, you're going to be just deluged with business of trying to fight these insane and audacious laws that the EPA's tried to promote.
Well, certainly under both Republican and Democrat administrations, PLF has thrived for 40 years pushing back against overreaching government. But the last 8 years were certainly a treasure trove. We could really it was shooting fish in a barrel. We won many cases at the Supreme Court in the last decade or so because of President Obama's agencies overreaching. Now, based on signals we're getting, it would appear that we should have even more luck. And we may not even have to go to the courts. We may be able to discuss the issues with the agencies, and perhaps they will be more reasonable. I've got cases across the country, PLF has cases across the country, where we are optimistic that the Trump administration's new agency heads will come in and change the position that we were fighting, and that we will reach some sort of agreement. And if we don't reach an agreement, hopefully Congress will see fit to amend the laws to follow forward. Yes, I hear a question?
Yeah, when you hear a moo of a cow on my program, Mark, don't be afraid. It's not a renegade cow that got out of a holding pen. It's just a caller. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I have a question. I don't know if he'd be able to answer it. But what does the government or whoever, the EPA, do with all of the money that they fine people?
That's a good question.
The government fines people all over the whole world for something they don't like. What do they do with all that money?
Thank you for your call. Mark, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And the money generally goes into, I believe, the Treasury. It effectively acts like a kind of tax. And at times, lawyers have tried to challenge some of these fines as a kind of tax. But effectively, it goes to the to the Treasury of the U.S. government.
That was an excellent question. I'm glad she called. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions about the waters of the United States. You know, I was not trying to be facetious this last summer when I made the statement over a couple of stories that I'd read that literally on your own property in your backyard with the absolutely intrusive EPA and the waters of the United States, etc., if little Johnny dug a little 2-foot by 3-foot pond and put water in it to float a little sailboat, the parents could be susceptible to maybe having some kind of charges brought against them. What's going on with this kind of an attitude?
Yes, the agency, the EPA, over the last couple of years, tried to rewrite the Waters of the United States rule. The Waters of the United States rule is where the agencies, in their infinite wisdom, try to redefine what water is. You would think common sense would tell us what water is, but in fact, Waters of the United States, the agencies try to say that they can control any drop of rain effectively all over the country. And in fact, I've been in seminars where government sympathizer lawyers have argued to me that when it rains, the water comes down, it goes into the water tables, it works its way out, and sooner or later it hits a river, it hits the ocean, it hits the Gulf, it's the Mississippi, and as such, really, our federal government should be able to control all the water in the nation.
Oh, boy.
But in fact, our government is a limited power government, and so they can only control waters that are interstate or that are navigable waters that effectively do become interstate. So the Mississippi River, obviously, you've got multiple states that the river runs through, and so it makes sense for one super body, effectively the federal government, to be regulating it. But when you have intrastate water that's just within a state, really it's up to that state to take care of it. But the federal government doesn't see it that way. So over the last few years, we've been litigating with the federal government as it tried to redefine waters of the United States. And in fact, right now the case is pending at the Supreme Court. This is another case PLF has at the Supreme Court. We now have 2 cases at the Supreme Court to be heard this term.
Yeah, but Mark, doesn't it go a lot further than just the water regulation, but it would absolutely destroy any and all assumption of private property rights?
Yes, and this redefinition of waters of the United States, effectively, if you look at maps and the way they've tried to define it, the entirety of California, for example, would be now under federal control, and there would be almost no reason to have water boards out there. Florida is in the same position, and it simply it speaks to how far this current, the last administration, actually, thankfully, the last administration was willing to go in terms of pushing the envelope in its powers. And what's interesting about that is those agencies don't realize, and the head of those agencies, which is of course our president, didn't realize that what was sauce for the goose was sauce for the gander. And that if he was going to overreach, because he thinks he had good intentions, or those agencies thought they had good intentions, what he's doing is opening the door to other future leaders then also overreaching, where they may not have such good intentions. That's a law of man, and that's where man thinks he's making the law. At PLF, we believe the laws are, the rule of law is bigger than one man. And so rather than a phone and a pen, as I think President Obama once said in terms of his power, we believe laws should be passed by Congress and then signed by the president and then ultimately be put to the test for constitutionality in front of the courts. And hopefully this current administration is going to go there, because otherwise we're looking at basically tyranny.
Well, and here's the way I see this, and Wheels over at the station, watch the feedback just a little bit on these calls, please. But here's the way I see this also, is that money and the environmental movement in this country, Mark, could absolutely control any and all of the water for agriculture and any other uses and turn this nation into a completely subservient nation for the food production, etc., and lessen the value and the prestige of this nation within a very short period of time.
Well, I think they did lessen the prestige of our nation over the last, say, 40 years. And whether or not they had good intentions at some point in the past, at this point, it is about command and control. They don't want people to be able to use property and make a living, and that's where PLF comes in. And as you point out, we've been able to sue the agencies to push back, but now if the agencies are more reasonable in the way they look at their power and what power they don't have, you may see the enviros suing them, and at that point PLF will have to start intervening to explain what our founding fathers intended, what these laws are actually supposed to mean, and how they're supposed to actually work. And with any luck, with good appointments on the bench, we will see the rollback of the administrative state and the rollback of the enviro power to a more reasonable position. We all want clean water, but we want also to be able to make a living.
And so let me ask you this, and it sounds very minuscule, but yet it's very important that if somebody anywhere in the United States had, let's say, an old-fashioned rain barrel out in the back of their yard, back of the garage, whatever, and collected rainwater, in essence, they would be absolutely stealing water that the federal government says they own.
I'll tell you, Zeb, that's a good example because it may be not necessarily the federal government, but we've actually seen local governments trying to interfere with people who simply wanted to use that old-fashioned rain barrel. And it's just a good example of how out of whack our government has gotten, where the government thinks that we live by their leave as opposed to the government working for us. And that's really, our country has to get back to a place, if we want to lower unemployment and we want to get a country of men and women who are working for a living and can just make their own lives, we have to get to a place where the government knows that it's there for us, that we're not there because we're lucky the government lets us. The government doesn't give us property rights. Property rights are ours. The government can perhaps regulate them reasonably, but the government has gone way too far and just ignored too often, effectively, the Fifth Amendment.
I can't say enough about what you do and the other attorneys with the Pacific Legal Foundation. What would you suggest to my audience? Is there a way they can follow these cases and not only help that way, but also to help contribute to you? I mean, tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, Zeb. Pacific Legal Foundation, for your audience members, is a nonprofit legal foundation based in Sacramento with offices all over the country. I'm managing the East Coast litigation office down in South Florida. And we're, like I said, we're a nonprofit. We represent all our clients. Andy Johnson, as Zeb mentioned, the Sackett's and the Pierce family that I mentioned in the Hawks case. All of our clients are represented free of charge. We do not charge attorney's fees. And we're able to do that because your listeners and Americans, just good Americans all over the country, donate money to Pacific Legal. And they can find out how to do that and find out how to follow our cases at our website, which is pacificlegal.org. And if you want to follow my cases specifically, you would go to our Atlantic Center, pacificlegal.org, and then look for the Atlantic Center. But really, all the cases that we do, we've got our headquarters in Sacramento. We've got offices in D.C., in the belly of the beast, to fight there in D.C. We have an office in the Pacific Northwest, and then we have my office down here, and we have a lawyer actually in Hawaii. I'm trying to put in for a transfer to get his job. But in the meantime, Florida's nice. But I would just encourage all your listeners to go to the website, and if they like what they're hearing, to consider making a donation. It's tax deductible.
Absolutely. And I feel so sorry for Mark having to rough it in Florida this morning as we sit here in the balmy part of the United States, snow-covered Idaho. God bless you, Mark Miller with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Come back soon.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless you, too.
All right. Thank you, sir. Really a nice, sharp young man, and talking about the EPA and their stretch of how they're trying to take over private property rights, our water, etc., and the Pacific Legal Foundation fighting for us. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's see. Oh, we got to pay some bills real quick, and I've got a new ad right now that's very important to you. Ag Express Incorporated is looking for drivers, full and part-time positions. Retired folks are welcome, and they'll work around your schedules 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you. You're home every night, new and maintained equipment, and listen to this. They offer vacations 1 week after 6 months, 2 weeks after a year. Wow! And benefits 401k plan, you better call them today. And I'm going to give you 3 numbers. In Paul, 438-8886. In Twin Falls, 731-2495. In Burley, 670-7219. Ag Express Incorporated, looking for you to go to work for them. Call them today. Okay? And while we have just a minute, I also want to remind you, too, dear friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, and they are so community-oriented. And I urge you to stop by Hanson Mortuary and pick up one of those planning guides, so that we all can be aware of what needs to be done and what we should do when there's the passing of a relative, and, quite frankly, also for us. Stop by and see them today, and they always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. You know what? Right after this program's over, I get a chance to go out and try out my brand new snow plow that I got from Let's Ride. Vroom, 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 look out, snow! Here comes Zebby. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. My goodness, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 5, and they've got all the snow machines over there. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, there's a lot of angel dandruff out there. You better get out and enjoy it on your snow machines. And they've got the timber sled systems, that's that snow bike conversion kit. They've got all the accessories, and of course they've got a super service department. What are you waiting for? Let's Ride, where the fun is sold, at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. You stop over and see those really nice people today. Okay? Great folks. And if you're over in that area, I urge you to call ahead and make an appointment with Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Now, the number to call, write this down, I'll go slow, 436-4424. I'll say it again, 436-4424, for the very best in life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are dedicated to serving you, and service is the key. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. That number again, 436-4424. Right now, without further ado, we're going to go to the phone line and have one of my favorite segments on my program at any time, anywhere on this show. And we're going to be talking to one of the lawyers with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and the gentleman that we have here today, Travis Barham. Good morning, Travis. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome, my dear friend. And now, wait a minute. The last time I checked, this is the United States of America. I can go anywhere I want, say anything I want to, anywhere, pass out our Constitution, and be proud of America, right or wrong?
That's true, but unfortunately that is not what happened to some of our clients at Kellogg Community College.
What is the story there, please?
Well, a student and several of her associates were standing outside one of the buildings on campus on a big, broad sidewalk area on a bright sunny day, and they were handing out copies of the Constitution and promoting their organization, Young Americans for Liberty. And school officials came over and stopped them, saying that they could not be outside and distributing the copies of the Constitution, and they couldn't distribute anything without first getting a permit from the college. And when our clients just politely informed them that they were going to continue exercising their First Amendment rights, the rights guaranteed by the document they were handing out, college officials escalated things and had them arrested and thrown in jail.
Okay, now it's time to stop because I'm furious. You mean to tell me, and I absolutely want to applaud these students for standing up and not sticking their tail between their legs and being kowtowed and moved out of the way. Do you mean to tell me that the school officials honestly were that dumb that they thought they could do this and get away with this?
They what can I say? They arrested the students and had them thrown in jail for handing out copies of the Constitution. It's absurd because free speech on campus is supposed to be a no-brainer. After all, colleges are supposed to be places where ideas are freely shared and not gagged. And the only permit that a student should need in order to hand out materials on campus is the First Amendment, the very document that these students were distributing.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Travis. Do other groups, have they had to adhere to this policy of getting a permit, maybe to pass out something regarding maybe some kind of a sleaze issue on campus?
Our clients have seen other student groups handing out literature in violation of the rules that the college officials were invoking against our clients. But even if the college had applied these rules perfectly uniformly, they're still unconstitutional because they're restricting student speech to one particular area of campus. They're preventing students from doing anything outside. Those are kind of restrictions are unconstitutional, even if they're applied even-handedly across the board, because speech isn't free when students have to ask permission to speak and then are limited as to where they can speak.
It sounds to me, and help me because you're the man with the knowledge on this case, but it sounds to me like the administration at Kellogg Community College in Battle Creek, Michigan, they're slow learners or no learners, because there's been many, many other cases like this, of which the Alliance Defending Freedom has been a part of, that basically have proven that these people are wrong and trying to stymie free speech. What's the matter with these people? Why did they try to do this?
Well, we've seen this happen before, where colleges and universities tend to be rather slow learners, as you put it, and take an approach of, until I'm sued, I'm not going to actually revise my policies to comply with the First Amendment. And what we're hoping to do through this lawsuit is bring some much-needed accountability to Kellogg Community College. And we look forward to reminding its officials that the First Amendment is not just the supreme law of the land, it's also the supreme law of the campus.
Now, Travis, is there a right and a wrong in this issue? In other words, is there a group of people, or are there people that are absolutely against handing out the Constitution, and they went to the school administration, and then the chain of command came back on these students? Or tell us exactly how this all took place.
I don't know what happened behind the scenes to prompt all of this, but all I know is that when college officials come out and tell students that they can't distribute literature peacefully when they're standing outside, and when they say that you have to have a permit in advance, those kind of restrictions are unconstitutional, because the cornerstone of higher education is the ability to participate freely in the marketplace of ideas. And that can't occur when colleges put such onerous restrictions on student speech.
You know, how concerned are you that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this kind of idiocy is growing on college campuses across the country? I mean, give us a little background. How bad is this problem?
Well, I've been personally litigating these issues on behalf of college students for 10 years. And some of these policies, like this notion that colleges and universities can restrict student speech to one tiny area of campus, usually, somewhere far removed out on the backside of the moon somewhere. These sort of things have been going on college and university campuses for quite a while. The good news is that when students take a stand and bring some accountability to the school by filing a lawsuit, the policies usually change. And that's what we're hoping, obviously, will happen here at Kellogg Community College. But Kellogg needs a real wake-up call, because I have never known of a college to arrest students simply for handing out copies of the Constitution. Again, handing out copies of the very document that gives them the right to do what they were doing.
Let me ask this, and I may be putting the cart before the horse here, but for the students that were arrested, that evidently is going to go on their record that might affect future employment, or will they have to wait until after this court case is won or lost before they can have that stricken from their personal record?
Well, fortunately, the criminal charges against these students have already been dismissed. The prosecutor took a quick look at this case and dismissed those charges completely. So that aspect, as far as their record, has already been taken care of, because they had a prosecutor who recognized that they he wasn't going to try to nail these students for handing out copies of the Constitution. And now it's just time for Kellogg Community College to change its policies to respect students' First Amendment rights.
Were the students being abrasive? Were they being rude? Were they getting in people's faces? Or give us a little circumstance about that.
Not at all. There were 3 or 4 students, 3 or 4 people standing outside, handing out copies of the Constitution. As students would walk past, they would simply ask them, "Hey, are you interested in freedom and liberty?" And if they were interested, they would sit there and chat with them about the student organization, Young Americans for Liberty, that they were founding. If they weren't interested, they would just pass on and go about their business, go to class, and do whatever. So the problem is, so our clients were being perfectly polite and low-key in the way that they were advertising their group. The problem here is hypersensitive college administrators. In fact, one of the college administrators said that he was from Boston, and so he knew that he could walk past our clients without taking their materials, but he was concerned about students from a rural background, students who didn't have Wi-Fi at home, and therefore they might not know that they can just, they didn't have to take everything. So it's this kind of arrogance that also pervades the administration at Kellogg Community College that helped to motivate these actions and help precipitate this problem.
What kind of a school is Kellogg Community College? I mean, what is it, a liberal arts college, evidently? What is it that would dictate as to whether or not people can hand out the Constitution? And I'm offended by that last statement, like you'll never believe, when you mention rural students as if we're a bunch of hayseeds and hicks from the sticks that don't know what's going on. That offends me to the point where I'm almost ready to ask for this guy's name so I can attack him personally.
Well, his name is in the complaint if you're that interested, but this is just a community college. That's all it is. It's nothing special. It's just a community college in Battle Creek, Michigan. And there is, the fact of the matter is that this is a public college. It is an arm of the state government, and they are just as subject to the First Amendment as any other public university or college in the country. Students have just as much a right to hand out copies of the Constitution on that campus as they do anywhere else.
You know, I guess maybe I'm an old man that absolutely loves this country. I love the blood, sweat, and tears and the lives that have been given for me to enjoy this great country. And when I hear that some students are arrested for passing out the Constitution, one of the most valued pieces of information ever created in not only our nation's history, but the world's history, it makes me fighting mad. I got to tell you that, Travis.
I couldn't agree with you more. Their history is full of people who have bled and died in order to preserve the precious First Amendment rights that we have, the rights to speak our mind, the rights to distribute literature and other materials and try to engage our fellow citizens in debate about important public issues like freedom and liberty on campus, and to have a couple college administrators act like they have to babysit the entire student body and stifle those freedoms is outrageous. And like I said, we're hoping through this lawsuit to bring some accountability to those officials and to help remind them that they have to respect the First Amendment rights of their students.
Absolutely. Travis, all I can say is thumbs up, good luck, God bless. I certainly hope that the Alliance Defending Freedom, of which I'm very proud to have on my program, you win this case. Now, if people want to follow this case and other cases, please tell them how they can.
The best way would be to go to our website, adflegal.org. And you can find out all about all the different cases and all the different things that we are doing. And once you're on that website, you can also find out about our Facebook page and other social media pages. But it's adflegal.org.
Well, you're excellent. Travis, come back and talk to us again in the future. Travis Barham with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you, sir, and good work and good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, sir.
God bless. Thank you. Can you imagine? Honestly, I'm sitting here and I'm just absolutely taken aback. This is America! The United States of America. Relatives and dear friends of mine have died fighting for this great country. And this silly little popcorn college, Kellogg Community College in Battle Creek, Michigan, stops people passing out the United States Constitution and has them arrested. This is insanity personified. I just don't understand this. We should be all outraged with all the filth and the garbage that's being passed out to our younger generation and on the televisions, in the news media, handouts, I mean the perversion. And here are some good students that are just passing out the greatest document ever written for politics and for the nation, our Constitution, and they're stopped and they're arrested. These so-called college leaders at Kellogg Community College should be unemployed as of this afternoon at 3 o'clock. They should be applying for jobs to clean floors somewhere or chase puppy dogs and put them in a van. They are not worthy of being involved in collegiate education. They are stupid. Time for our weather, brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Oh, my goodness sakes, the very best of being CPAs, the best to you. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, payroll services, all of this and so much more. Remember the name, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, serving you in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we are looking at more snow showers in the forecast as we kick off the work week. Here is your weather for today. Snow likely anywhere from 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast. Now we are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that is our time frame of snow pretty much. Winds out of the northwest right around 18 miles an hour for today. High of 32, tonight low of 25. Hopefully those snow showers will be tapering off overnight. We are expecting another 1 to 3 inches in the overnight hours, low of 25. For tomorrow, looks like 50% chance of snow showers, still going to be a little bit on the breezy side. High of 26 with an overnight low of 18, then cloudy skies and 24 for Wednesday. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by the best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. And boy, it's tax time right now. You better get a hold of those folks at 1710 Overland and Burley, 878-7000. And in Rupert, 620 5th Street in Rupert, 436-5607. The very best CPAs, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, you're starting to worry me.
Oh, really?
You got this snowplow now. Do you remember what you did with the tractor to your wife's flowers?
Jerry, why are you...
Remember how many times you fell off it?
I didn't fall off of it. I just ran over things.
You got a stockyard across the street from you. It may not be there tomorrow.
Jerry, I thought you were a good friend. Why are you antagonizing me this morning?
Well, you know, Al isn't here to do it anymore, and I just thought, well, I'll take his place today, because I know he would have called in on that.
I am so blessed.
He remembered everything you have ever done wrong. And he would have called and told you about it.
Okay, but Jerry, please give me the benefit of the doubt. Some things do change. I'll let you know how things are tomorrow morning.
Do you have a seatbelt on your tractor? Or on your four-wheeler?
No, I don't.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I can close my eyes and I can see it now.
Well, thank you very much.
We used to have a half a house that will be gone tomorrow.
You know, really, you guys are just running me down and I haven't done anything wrong yet. Thank you, Jerry.
you need a little razzing once in a while. You're a young kid. You never get enough.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Yes, you have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you.
All right. Thank you.
The whole audience.
Thank you very much.
Tell the people around you to watch out. You're driving a snowplow, and we might not have any road left either.
Man, there's confidence in me.
Day.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it. Oh, dear. Hey, I want to take just a moment, and I want to tell you about something I saw on television last Friday night. No, let's see. Was it last Friday night or Thursday night? I think it was last Thursday night. And it was one of the most despicable things that I've seen on TV in a long time. It was a 9 or a 10-year-old brat, a little boy, that they were having all the protests start up against Trump's inauguration, etc. Well, here in the streets of Washington, D.C., at about 9:30, 9:45 Eastern Time, this 10-year-old little snot was setting a fire in the middle of the street. Oh, he was so proud. The TV interviewer went over to him and said, well, who set this fire? And this little brat said, I did. And the language I'm going to use right now is what was said on television, so please do not be offended by it. It's not me carrying on this. It was offensive to me, but it needs to be said. The 10-year-old brat said, I started the fire, as if he was so proud. And then the news interviewer said, why? Because screw Donald Trump, screw the president. Where were this little snot-nosed punk's parents? Where were they? Were they in the background, letting this little punk out there to start fires in a public thoroughfare? Where were they when he had this vile language against the president? Where are the parents? Why was this little punk allowed on the streets of one of the United States' most dangerous cities, way past probably the time that he should have been in bed or doing his homework at home for the next day of school? That isn't freedom of speech. That's idiocy. And I condemn his parents, if you want to use that term, parents, in their regard. They should have been arrested for letting that kid out there. They should have been arrested for letting him start a fire. They should have been arrested for the way he talked. Did anybody else see this? Was anybody else worried about it? That's what's wrong with America today. We got a bunch of sloppy, damn lazy parents. Not all of them, but too many of them. Allowing their little Johnny and Susies to act in this kind of an absolutely revolting manner. If anybody else saw that, call me. And maybe the liberals out in the audience, oh, he was just expressing his right of First Amendment. No, this kid hadn't a clue. This kid probably never even read the First Amendment, or probably isn't smart enough to read or understand the words. But where were the mom and the dad? Were they standing there just going, oh, look at little Johnny, let's give him a round of applause. He just started a fire that could cause trouble. And listen to his language, we're so proud. What kind of idiot would back that? It was absolutely, it was almost obscene that kid would do that and be out that late at night with no parental responsibility from the parents whatsoever. Where in the heck were the parents? Those are the two that should have been locked up in the paddy wagon and taken into court for child abuse. Or don't you agree? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You don't want to hear this. I wrote about it in my blog last week, and I'll stand behind it. This 10-year-old little punk was absolutely worthy of having his jeans taken down, laid across somebody's knee, and given about 20 good welts on his behind, and then told to get back to his mom and dad and go home where he belonged. This really incensed me. Totally stupid. To see kids 10 years of age being encouraged to start fires and then have that kind of language against our President of the United States. Ay, ay, ay. And then you wonder why we don't have any respect in this land anymore? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see, I wanted to also mention that, something that needs to be said in favor of Donald Trump. This was a really heartwarming story, and you won't see it on NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, whatever. But did you hear about one of Trump's campaign workers that had worked for him diligently to get him elected, and this man's father was really having trouble with cancer and needed chemotherapy? Donald Trump wrote out a $10,000 check, didn't want any great big fa-faroo in the press or anything, handed the guy the check and said, "Here, this is for your father." And you won't hear that on the national media. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. Hey, it really boils down to education, ignorance. People are ignorant nowadays. Kids are ignorant. Families are ignorant. Adults are ignorant. They don't really know what's going on. They don't know what free enterprise is. When I was a kid, my parents joined a group called Amway to sell something out of their home. And Rich DeVos and Jay Van Andel talked about free enterprise and what the country was all about and how we could go out and start our own business and we could be free to do that. All that's gone. All our education and everything's gone. These kids and adults need to understand education. I hope that Donald Trump is going to be a good father to our nation and help us be educated in these ways.
I agree with you. Let me ask you a quick question because I'm almost out of time. I don't know who this is, but I'm asking you, do you have children?
Yes, I've got 5 of them.
All right, what's the age of the youngest?
3.
All right, do you have one that's about 10 years old?
Yes, I do.
What would you possibly think about letting your 10-year-old do something so stupid and frivolous as what this idiot kid did?
Well, it's called respect. I teach my children respect for everyone and everybody's opinion, but they've got an understanding of what the world's all about as well. So,
amen. God bless you, and I thank you for your call. Thank you so much. Sounds like you're really up as being a good parent to your kids. Too bad this kid didn't have parents that really cared. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, sir. Can you imagine letting your 10-year-old go out in the middle of the street and start fires as a protest? This kid hasn't got a clue. Feed him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, he'll follow you anywhere. We're going to take a little break right now and come back with more in just a few minutes. Zeb at the Ranch, we've got Media Research Center Scott Whitlock coming on to talk about the election and the inauguration. So don't go away. We'll have that in a couple of minutes. Wheels, take it away. Yada, 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 yada. More snow out there. Be careful. Roads are slippery, etc. Watch out, please. Thank you. Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them. Get on the route service, 734-6969. Want to remind you, too, about Harris Plumbing NG. This man is so committed to excellence, and I mean that. Nathan Harris with his plumbing service service. One call, that's all. And I mean, he absolutely strives for excellence and service to you. Harris Plumbing NG, please, for any and all plumbing problems, I mean, give this man a call. I've had an experience with them on many, many times to where we've needed them. They've been here. They've got the job done efficiently, professionally. They are good. I urge you to call them at 431-8633. That number again, 431-8633. Harris Plumbing NG. Nathan Harris, absolutely the best for all your plumbing service needs. By the way, too, don't forget our friends over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're having a big inventory crunch. Why, they've got so much in such small space. They've got to have an inventory crunch sale, clearance sale, where you can save up to 75% store-wide. And 12 months interest-free financing available, too. Oh, my goodness, reduced prices on mattresses and flooring and carpet and furniture. I mean, power recliners, twin bunk beds, accent chairs, all of this and much, much more at their big inventory crunch. At Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Scott Whitlock with the Media Research Center back in Washington, D.C. Good morning. How are you? The editor of Newsbusters, Scott Whitlock. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Now, I said you're in Washington, D.C. That might be a misnomer. Where are you at currently?
We're actually in Reston, Virginia, which is very close to Washington, D.C., kind of a suburb of Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington.
Okay, Scott. Now, I'm way out here in southern Idaho, but I've got to ask you this. What is the general mood since last Friday when Trump was inaugurated? What's the general feeling and thought back there?
Well, I can tell you with the media, they're angry. They're very angry, and if anyone thought that Donald Trump was going to have a honeymoon, it ended about 30 seconds after he gave his inaugural address, because the journalists have kind of had a collective freak out. ABC, actually, if you can believe it, compared the section where he used the phrase America First, said that had echoes of 1930s-style anti-Semitism and fascism, and Chris Matthews said the speech was Hitlerian. So journalists they're freaking out in a way that they certainly never did with Barack Obama.
Wait a minute. I'm a little bit offended by that terminology that you just used, journalists. How can they call themselves journalists? How can they call them unbiased writers and overseers of what's going on in the news when they're biased and they're absolutely slanted in one direction? How can they call themselves journalists?
Yeah, you're right. They are absolutely opposed to this administration, and there's not even there's barely a fig leaf of we're doing this because it's our job to investigate the news. Clearly, they weren't interested in that when it came to Barack Obama. One of the things that they have been freaking out over is this whole crowd size issue, and they have really gone after Trump on that. That it's a lie and he's misrepresenting the crowd size. Well, he may or may not be misrepresenting the crowd size, but you want to talk about lies. Look how they did not have any interest in going after Barack Obama when he said that if you like your doctor, you can keep it. That was one of the biggest untruths of his administration, and that did not get anywhere near the outrage from journalists that this, frankly, which is a small issue, this whole story of crowd size has gotten.
Well, I'm going to come right out and say this, Scott, and I don't give a rip who's offended by this whatsoever, because this is my opinion and it's my show. America first. That has been lacking for a long time in this great country, because when America is first and America treats itself with respect and goes out with a professional attitude to try to do better for America, then we are capable of doing more to help others. That's my feeling, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, well, it's really, I think of all, we were there all day, we were covering the inauguration all day Friday, and to me that was the one that just stuck out the most, as the most offensive. Clearly, if you watch the speech, Donald Trump was talking, obviously, about free trade, about trade in general, about the economy, and to compare that to essentially say that he's a 1930s-style fascist and that this is anti-Semitic, it's just so outrageous and beyond the pale. And I think your listeners should, be prepared. This is what it's going to be like for 4 years. They are going to go after him, I think, unlike any president we've seen, and he's apparently going to fight back.
Scott, how do these journalists, and again, I'm putting that in parentheses, and I'm not going to really call them this, how do these people that are getting an excused paycheck for being slovenly, how do they call somebody Hitleristic or whatever with these remarks and get away with it? Why isn't there a standard of decency in the media anymore?
Well, I think, look, during this campaign, we saw the front page of the New York Times essentially had an opinion piece on the front page of the Times which said, how are we journalists supposed to cover this man objectively? Essentially saying, we can't. He's terrible, and we have to say it. And so he's unhinged them in a way that more so than any recent Republican president. I mean, look, they went after George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan, but a part of it, I think, is that he's constantly hitting back against them.
Isn't it about time, though, that somebody did, using your words, hit back against them? Isn't it about time somebody pointed their finger at them and called them for what they are, very biased and unprofessional? Isn't it about time, Scott?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that, look, there were a lot of things that conservatives objected to about Barack Obama, but whenever that seemed to happen, they were told that they were racist or that they were out of touch, and journalists just weren't interested in looking into the things that they are looking into when it comes to Donald Trump. And I think that's part of the reason that we've seen the continued failing of the old media. That's why people are turning to other cable networks, they're turning to talk radio, to the internet, to your show, and they're going around the media, and that's why Donald Trump, they give him a lot of grief for tweeting, but that's why he tweets, because when he tweets, he goes around journalists, and they can't stand that either.
You say when you started these remarks this morning, and you are an expert at really seeing and perceiving what's going on in the media, but you, I'm assuming, are of a different cut of the bread. I mean, you're looking at this thing and really kind of raising your eyebrows at your fellow journalists back there because they're acting like nincompoops and first graders. What do they do, and how do they treat you, knowing that you're against their attitude?
Well, a lot of journalists are not very fond of the Media Research Center, and look, we let them know when we're writing about them, and we tweet them, and they often get upset. But facts are facts, and so the Media Research Center, we're just going to keep calling them out about this because it's just a total double standard in how they treated Obama and how they're treating Trump now, or how they've treated any Republican president. And again, I think that's why you're seeing more and more people, when they have alternatives from the mainstream media, they're taking them. And journalists don't seem to understand that this is one of the big reasons that they're losing their audience.
Okay, now you mentioned also the word anger, and it's just starting, and it looks like the teapot's on the stove, and it's going to get worse. The worse they get in their anger and their angst against him and the lies and the fake news and everything, don't they realize that that really is a derogatory mark against this country, and our enemies are just sitting back loving every minute of that?
I don't think so, because they look. You could say that, you could ask that question about them, or you could ask other questions like, why do they not change when they see that their ratings have been going down as people have more alternatives? But they don't change. They have no interest in changing, and that's why when people say to us, "Well, the media, they're going to go where the audience is. They're going to go where the ratings are, and they don't really, they're not going to be biased because they want to make money." Well, what we've seen, honestly, is that they're putting ideology first. They're putting it above, you would presume, their own best interest.
When you hear stories, and I saw this firsthand when it happened, when Kellyanne Conway was really laying the wood to Chuck Todd on NBC, It told me as a news connoisseur that, hey, you don't want to mess with Kellyanne Conway. If you can't tell the facts and you can't tell the honest truth about a story, this lady's going to lay the wood to you. Don't you agree?
Yeah. No, I think we are in uncharted waters. Clearly, the Trump administration, Donald Trump himself, and people like Kellyanne Conway, Reince Priebus are going, it has been laid down. They are going to fight back, and they're not going to take it. So I don't know how this is all going to play out. It's certainly going to be different, and it's going to be interesting. And I think as Ronald Reagan went around the media in a way where he would do lots of televised primetime addresses, and he would go directly to the American people in his own unique way. I think that's what Donald Trump is trying to emulate, that he is going to go around the media and try and make them irrelevant, or at least fight back to them to the extent that they can.
Let me ask you this. How many years have you been doing this, Scott?
I have actually been with the Media Research Center 10 years now.
Okay.
So I've been doing it for a good while.
Well, you're very capable in giving us an answer on this. With the angst and the animosity and, quite frankly, the pompous attitude and the lies that the media is displaying against Trump, can Trump, have a successful presidency for 4 years or 8 years and trying to bring this country back when the media is going to be slanted against him?
I think he certainly can, in the same way that Ronald Reagan did, because they were very much opposed to Ronald Reagan. But he's certainly got to pick his battles. You can't fight in a million different directions all the time. So I think probably letting go this crowd-sized battle would be a good idea.
I agree.
But on the big issues, on when they want to the Trump administration wants to lay their marker down, yes, certainly they can have a successful presidency if they can go around the media and be successful doing it. And I think Twitter is for him is really key to doing this, and that's why he's not going to give it up, because with Twitter they can attack his tweets and they can make fun of them, but generally they have to repeat what he said. They say this is what he said on Twitter. So you combine that with just the amount of people he's reaching just on Twitter, and it's essentially reaching the country, I should say, without a filter. So yeah, he definitely can. It's going to be hard to say how this next 4 or 8 years go, because they, like you said, they're just going to be fighting him every step of the way. But he can, if he can successfully go around them and continue to do what he's doing.
It was almost laughable what happened in the White House the very first 48 hours that Trump was in there, with the bust of Martin Luther King that some so-called journalists said was taken away and put in storage, when in essence that wasn't true. Would you like to elaborate on that story a little bit?
Yeah, and this can sort of be linked back. We were just talking about Twitter, where, Twitter can give and Twitter can take away, because I think one of the problems with journalists is the way they're using Twitter, and they are tweeting things that they see as exclusive scoops, like they did with this one. And off the top of my head, I do not recall the journalist who did this, but it was tweeted out that Donald Trump had did this, remove the Martin Luther King bust and put it in storage, as you said, and they did not bother to check with Sean Spicer or to anyone at the White House to see if this was true, and they just tweeted it out. Now, it wasn't true, so this is a problem with some of the way journalists are using Twitter. They want to have Twitter exclusives, and so whereas in the old days, at least it'd be some sort of vetting. You take it to your producer or whoever at the network, and you kind of look into it a little more. Now it's just instantaneous with some of these journalists, that it's just, I have the scoop, it's almost too good to check out. And so that's really what happened. And it turns out it wasn't true. He hadn't exiled the bust of Martin Luther King.
Right. One of the fears I have, to be honest with you, Scott, is the people like myself that I own this program, but yet I also have other jobs, and I own another business, and I'm out and I'm away from the media a lot. Now I have to devote 3-4 hours early in the morning to bringing myself up to speed as to what's going on in the news, to keep abreast of what's happening honestly. Well, the general public doesn't have have that luxury of really taking the time like I do to understand what's going on in the news, and they believe and they listen, unfortunately, to what the networks are telling them. And if they're telling a false story or a false narrative or something that's jaded against Donald Trump, how is the general public going to know and appreciate the job this man's doing as president?
Yeah, no, you're right, because it is a real problem, because as you say, most Americans, if their job isn't related to the media, they're working. They're working, they have families, and they're not going to be, really have the time to dig deep in all of this. So I think that's there are two answers to this. One is on the Trump administration's part, like we've been talking about, they're going to have to go around the media. They're going to have to be successful in penetrating the media's spin in different ways, whether that's Twitter or going to other venues such as talk radio, internet, Fox News, whatever. And, for regular Americans, I think they don't have the time to investigate all this, but I think they know what's happening, and that's why you're seeing the rise of alternative media in all its forms. So if they can't check all day, but they can go to alternative news source that's not ABC, NBC, or CBS. And so I think that's where you're seeing the media complain about some fake news and outlets and things like that. They don't like that they don't have just total control anymore over how Americans are consuming their media.
I would imagine that when you turn the key on your office door to go in there in the morning, you have no idea what you have to either prove false or prove true during the course of a day. It must be really kind of a gangbusters approach.
Yeah, it's definitely, you have a lot to wade into. And look, my short answer on fake news is yes, there is fake news. And when people have to be a little discerning and saying and looking at multiple news outlets if they can. But what we say is there's an awful lot of fake news in the New York Times, or let's say Dan Rather, former CBS News anchor. There's been a lot of fake news in traditional news media in either spin or outright falsehoods. And so for them to have this kind of haughty attitude of that they're the gatekeepers, they really don't deserve to have that attitude, because they've been part of the big problem for a long time.
Okay, final thought, and you'd be an excellent person to answer this. Are the days of Huntley and Brinkley and Edward R. Murrow, honest journalists that sit there without an opinionated program or their own self-interest, are they gone forever?
I would say no when it comes to certain journalists, because there are certain journalists who are out there trying to do the right thing, and for the most part try and be fair and balanced. The example that I often use is, I think Jake Tapper, for the most part, does a good job of making that effort. So there are journalists out there who do that. I would say I can't really point to, when it comes to the liberal media, a network that will do that completely. So there are journalists here and there, and those journalists who do try and be fair and balanced should be encouraged and should be applauded, and that's certainly something we do. We don't just go after the bad ones. When we see good journalism, good reporting, we try and give kudos to those people, because they should be complimented for doing their job, and we need more people like them.
Yeah, but is it the journalist? Is it the Jake Tapper? Is it the person sitting in that chair at CBS? Or is it a hierarchy of left liberals that are tied into the Soros campaigns, etc., that they want to keep their media basically focused on liberalism, and no matter who's sitting in the chair giving out the news, it's not going to change?
I think it's a combination. I mean, we've definitely seen that. With some journalists who have said essentially that that they've been pushed from higher ups to give things more of a liberal spin. But then on the other hand, you have a number of journalists who are really committed to this, really committed to just pushing the liberal agenda. So I think unfortunately, it's a combination of both.
When you look at the overall picture, though, this is literally like day 4, if you will, in the new administration. What are your thoughts overall? He met this morning with business owners and CEOs and corporate leaders and really was trying to bolster their attempts to not only enhance their businesses, but to create more here in America. I'm hearing a lot of the security people with our armed forces are absolutely ecstatic with what he said so far. What are your personal thoughts?
I think he is, like I said, I think he's, if he can focus on hitting the media when they're being unfair, on the big things and not kind of get bogged down in issues like crowd sizes, then I think he can do a really good job of going around the liberal media. And he's going to have a lot of fights on his hands because, remember, we have a Supreme Court nomination that's coming up, so it's going to be incumbent on the Trump administration to go around the liberal media and to get their message out in a way that is just not going to be expressed on ABC, NBC, CBS, and that's also alternative media outlets, internet, Fox News, talk radio. They have to be a part of this too, of keeping the liberal media honest on these issues, or at least attempting to.
Absolutely.
They certainly don't want to be.
Absolutely. Scott Whitlock with the Media Research Center. I have the highest regard for that organization and this gentleman. Scott, come back and visit with us again. God bless. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, sir. Scott Whitlock, Media Research Center, and I do a lot of work every day, every single day with that Media Research Center, and I applaud them for their honest, hard-working effort. They really do a great job. Want to also say thank you very much to some of our advertisers like A Child's World and the Ambulatory Surgery Center, because they bring you Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10. Don't forget A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. All their winter clothes 40% off. Look at the snowfall. You better get in there and check out those winter warm clothes. And don't forget they've got all the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes and the puzzles and the games and everything right there. A family store, A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And then don't forget the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. Number to call, 677-8888. They can save you money on outpatient surgery. And it's the only place in southern Idaho that has glaucoma surgery. And they perform life-saving colonoscopies every single week. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland in Burley, 677-8888, along with A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. We are going to take a little break for a few moments and send it back over to our main studios, and we'll be back with more in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Ag Express is looking for drivers, full and part-time positions. Retired folks are welcome, and they'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, and you're home every night. They've got new and maintained equipment, and listen to this. Vacations 1 week after 6 months, 2 weeks after 1 year. Wow, they've got a lot of benefits and, of course, a 401k plan. And believe me, you need to call them right now today. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886. Allen in Twin Falls, 731-2495. Chad in Burley. Hello, Chad, 670-7219. Ag Express, you call them today. They are looking for drivers. Okay? Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I get a chance to talk to an old friend of mine that we haven't conversed on the radio for quite some time, and I apologize for that. We say good morning to the CEO of RCAF USA, Bill Bullard. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Holy cow, what is it like with all the snow in Montana? We got plenty here. How's the situation up there?
Yeah, it's been melting for the last couple of days, but we still have a good foot on the ground. So we have a winter.
Well, Bill, tell us a little bit about where is the cattle industry right now in America after we've seen Obama finally get out of the Oval Office, going into the Trump campaign and administration. What are your thoughts about the cattle industry right now?
Well, the state of the industry right now is, over the last 30 years, we've lost over 500,000 producers.
Wow.
3 years ago, we woke up and realized that our mother cow herd was the smallest in over 70 years. 2 years ago, in 2015, we woke up and realized that the production of beef in the United States of America was at a 20-year low. So our industry is in a serious state of decline right now. And one of the reasons is that we have been pursuing trade agreements that have actually been hurting our industry because we've been accumulating a huge deficit. And when you accumulate a deficit, it drains the economic strength out of an entire nation, and it drained economic strength out of our industry. Meat packers were bringing in cheaper product in the United States to satisfy a generic demand for beef because we've lost country origin labeling. And so now we have a new president who has essentially come in with a very practical and pragmatic approach and has told the United States citizens that the emperor wears no clothes, that the free trade agreements we've been pursuing for the past 20 years have not produced the outcomes that were promised. In fact, they have hurt industries like ours. And so we view this as a tremendous opportunity to rebuild the United States cattle industry and to reverse the very serious and damaging decline that our industry finds itself in at the beginning of this new administration. So we're very optimistic, but a lot of harm has already accrued, and we need to reverse the process.
You know, when you said 500,000 beef producers have gone out of business, that just absolutely made me sicken because of the fact of the trickle-down effect in the communities, whether it's the hardware store, whether it's the livestock sale yard, whether it's the equipment salesman. Everybody takes a hit when they go out of business. Is this something that we can regenerate with proper thinking in the White House?
Well, I certainly believe we can. If we look at the average age of farmers and ranchers in the United States, just in half a lifetime, 30 years ago, it has increased from an average of about 50 years to where today it's an average of about 58 years. What that means is we have an industry that is not attracting enough youth into the industry to offset the attrition of those who are exiting. And that itself is a huge red flag. So to reverse that, what we need to do is ensure that we have competitive markets and a competitive industry that provides an opportunity for profiting by both those who are in the industry as well as those who wish to enter the industry. It's going to take some radical changes. We have been on the wrong course for a long, long time. All we need to do is look at our sister industries, the hog industry and the poultry industry, and realize that those industries have been captured by the multinational meat packers. The meat packers now control them from birth to plate in the case of the livestock hog industry, or egg to plate in the case of the poultry industry. But in any event, there is no longer a competitive marketplace for independent producers in either of those industries. And the cattle industry is the last frontier. And as you said, it is vitally important to the economic health of rural communities because the cattle industry is the single largest segment of American agriculture. Second commodity behind the cattle and calves is corn. But cattle and calves generate about $78 billion in cash receipts each year, and that means that's the foundation for these rural communities. And if we allow the cattle industry to go the way of the hog and poultry industries, and that is to allow a handful of multinational meat packers to vertically integrate those industries. And remember, vertical integration kills competition. And that's what the meat packers did to the hog industry. They did it to the poultry industry. They're trying to do it to the cattle industry. We can stop them if the industry stands together, and if we can convince this new administration to strike off on an entirely new course. Well, again, one that will preserve and restore competition for independent family farmers and ranchers that raise cattle.
Amen. Amen. I agree with that. Now, Bill, let me ask you this. There seems to be over the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, and I came out against it from the get-go. I spent a lot of time and effort trying to read all the gibberish and understand it. I didn't like the TPP, and I was one of the very few people to come out against it, vehemently against it, and oh boy, some cattle organizations criticized me for saying what I did. What about RCAF? What was your stand on TPP?
It was a fatally flawed agreement, and here's why. The rule of origin in that agreement said that the origin of beef is wherever the animal was slaughtered. In other words, it adopts the mantra that beef is beef regardless of whether the cattle were born and raised in Nicaragua, Honduras, Uruguay, Argentina, Mexico, Canada, or the United States. Doesn't matter. You can bring live animals into the United States, slaughter them here, and then put a USA label on them and ship the meat duty-free to the other TPP countries. It essentially rendered U.S. cattle producers uncompetitive within the agreement because it doesn't recognize that the beef produced exclusively in the United States of America is unique and is its own marketing item. And that was the fatal flaw in that agreement. In addition to that, the agreement granted safeguards to Japan, for example, recognizing the supply-sensitive nature of the Japanese cattle industry. Well, the U.S. cattle industry is extremely sensitive to supply increases as well, and yet our negotiators did not see fit to negotiate any safeguards. For example, Japan has a snapback provision. If imports into Japan cause domestic cattle prices there to fall below a certain threshold, then Japan will automatically snap back to its original tariff levels in order to allow their domestic industry to recover. No such safeguard was included in the United States. In addition, the TPP literally invited foreign corporations and foreign countries to challenge our U.S. Health and safety standards. For example, if we decide that there's a parasite in Australia that we should avoid entry and prevent entry into the United States, we could maintain restrictions on beef and on live animals. Well, under the TPP, there's a dispute resolution system that would allow an exporter from Australia to literally sue the United States in an international tribunal that isn't even a part of the U.S. jurisprudence or U.S. judicial system, and we would have three attorneys determining whether or not our policies has caused economic harm to a foreign corporation. It was absolutely irresponsible, reckless, and dangerous to the U.S. economy, and we are so pleased to see the Trump administration in his first days of office say, we are going to withdraw from that agreement. It was poorly written. It wasn't going to benefit the family farmers and ranchers. All it was going to benefit is a handful of very large multinational corporations that want to continue sourcing cheaper product, bring it into the United States, and sell it to unsuspecting consumers as if it were a product produced exclusively in the United States of America. Entirely deceptive.
You know, Bill, I've said this on my program a lot, and I think we've talked about this, but I'm absolutely adamant that why? Why is this country, primarily and especially the last 8 years with the Obama administration, and to be fair, even before, why are we so helpful in worrying about others first and us secondarily or thirdly? I'm sick of this. I think it's about time, like Trump said in his inauguration speech, America first. And when we become stronger, then we can help others become stronger. But we can't minimize ourselves and put us into a third world state. And I think that's what many of the trade agreements have done, is minimized us and put us into a third world state. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. And what a relief it is to hear the new president say that there's two rules, buy American and hire American. Well, we want to help accomplish the objective of Buy American, but Congress just repealed country of origin labeling for beef and for pork. So we can't even direct consumers to select the USA product among the products from 20 different countries that we import beef from. And so this is a huge opportunity for us. We wish to take advantage of it. The first step in the process is to restore country of origin labeling. But the idea that we have lowered our standards is absolutely correct. In fact, we began in 1995 when we first entered the World Trade Organization. The first thing our U.S. Department of Agriculture did was recognize that these developing countries did not have the infrastructure and had not made the investment to meet the high health and safety standards in the United States. So the USDA wrote a rule, the U.S. Department of Agriculture issued a rule that said the United States can no longer require these developing countries to have food safety systems that are at least equal to ours. Instead, we now only require that they be close enough under what is called an equivalency standard. And no longer are we doing monthly inspections in these meatpacking plants in these developing countries because they said that was treating these countries unfairly. Now we only do periodic inspections, which may be every 6 months or once a year. We have lowered our standard because we recognize we want to import beef and other products from these developing countries, but they can't meet our high health and safety standards. So in their infinite wisdom, they lowered our standard. That's absolutely wrong. That's exactly the opposite of what we should have done. We should have done what you just said, strengthen our position first, then reach out and help these other countries pick themselves up with their bootstraps. But don't lower our standards to the lowest common denominator, which has been the game plan for the past 20 years with each of the 20 countries we already have free trade agreements with.
Let me ask you a little bit about the Secretary of Agriculture. Our own Idaho Governor, Butch Otter, was considered for that position. And in the 11th hour, the other night before the inauguration, President Trump selected Sonny Perdue, former governor of Georgia. What are your thoughts about him and the cattle business? Because he's been heavily involved personally in the cattle business in Georgia.
Well, and most of his experience is with row crops. And so we're concerned that Sonny himself does not have, a knowledge base regarding the cattle industry. And so we're hoping that the deputy secretary that falls under him is someone who does. And so our organization has been supporting Charles Herbster, who is an Angus breeder in Nebraska, who has experience with cattle. And what we like about Sonny is his veterinary degree and his background, so he should understand the absolute insanity of importing fresh beef from countries where foot and mouth disease remain endemic, and that includes Brazil. And, of course, we just began importing fresh raw beef from Brazil, despite the fact that that's still a country where foot and mouth disease is known to exist. And what many cattle producers don't understand is the same meat packers that they rely upon to buy their cattle and then to market the beef produced from their cattle, those same meat packers are the ones that are down there in Brazil and shipping Brazilian beef into the United States in order to lessen the demand for U.S. cattle. JBS, the world's largest beef packer, is now shipping shiploads of Brazilian beef into the United States. Even though it's a high-risk product, it provides an opportunity for the foot and mouth disease virus to enter the United States, and that would be absolutely devastating to our industry.
Well, Bill, pardon my naivete on this issue, but where's our FDA? Where's our Food and Drug Administration? Where is the USDA? Where are they standing on these issues, knowing that the American public might be subjected to something so dangerous as this raw beef from a country that has hoof and mouth disease? Where are they anyway? Why are we paying them if they're not doing their job?
Well, they're doing the job that the multinational meat packers want them to do. And so here in just recent months, we have reopened our border to beef from Ireland and from France, countries where the mad cow disease continues to be a problem. They had 5 cases in 2015 in the European Union. This is the same USDA who has recently opened our borders to Namibia, Africa. They want to export beef from Namibia to the United States, as well as from Brazil and from Argentina. So we have 5 new high-risk countries that have recently been opened to allow imports into the United States. The reason they're doing that is the meat packers want to continue to bring this foreign product into the United States where it is not differentiated with a country of origin label, thereby allowing the meat packers to reap a windfall profit from buying extremely cheap and selling it into a more affluent market, which is the largest beef consuming market in the world, right at our feet. So the answer to your question is we have had a U.S. Department of Agriculture and for the last 8 years a Secretary of Agriculture who has been doing the bidding of the multinational meat packers who have little regard for the health and safety of our U.S. cattle industry. And it's because there are literally cattle herds around the world that dwarf the size of the U.S. cattle herd, and they have no problem importing beef from those countries and bring it into the U.S. market.
You know, Bill, one final question and a final problem is that the American consumer, the housewife, etc., they are listening today to the most liberalized, biased media ever in the United States. And it's really hard to get the truth and what's really happening out in front of them so they understand. How do we overcome that?
Well, I don't know. Until the Trump campaign started, nobody was even criticizing the trade agreements that we've been involved in, even though there is absolute evidence demonstrating that these trade agreements were harming our economy, that we were losing jobs, we were losing manufacturers, we were losing competitive opportunities. Even with all of these facts just glaring at everyone, it took a Trump to step forward and say, this is baloney. These trade agreements are stupid. They were poorly negotiated. They are hurting the United States of America. I mean, we're really witnessing an anomaly. This wouldn't happen if we continued down the bureaucratic course that we have been on and continued to elect and appoint people who have government experience and experience in lining their own pockets. This may be a very refreshing next 4 years, but we're going to have to be vigilant. I mean, we're going to have to fight harder than ever because we need to change the directions of the industry, and it isn't going to happen if we just sit back. So people have to be involved to help steer this industry in the right direction, and it has to be one, as you said, and as the president has said, we have to put America first. And once we've done that, then we can look beyond and begin helping some of these other countries.
Okay, I'm down to about
help right now, and we have to do that first.
Very good. I'm down to about 3 minutes, caller. I've got time for one quick call. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Yes, Bill and Zeb. I just haven't had a chance to listen to the whole program, but this is the thing. I think that Mr. Trump, or President Trump, is going to be very common sense approach to these things, and this TPP, when you take all the crap out of it, renegotiate it, because I know that he wants to help ag and the beef industry, and don't you think that that'll be what might happen? I'll hang up.
Bill, respond, please.
Yeah, absolutely. We need trade. We can have trade, but we shouldn't simply throw our markets open and invite others to inundate our market and hurt our domestic industries. We have to have balance. We should seek balance in trade agreements. Some years we should have a surplus, some years a deficit. But what we've had is year after year of mounting deficits that for the cattle and beef industry is now over $44 billion for the last 5 years.
Bill, I got to have you back on more often. I've absolutely enjoyed talking to you. You're a straight shooter. Bill Bullard, CEO of RCAF USA up in Montana. Thank you so much, and please know I'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Zeb.
You bet. Take care. I really enjoy his straightforward, honest appraisal of what's going on in the cattle industry, and thank Bill Bullard for being on the program this morning. And I thank the callers, too. Great questions. We've got to get a weather forecast here. Wheels is wondering, what's going on, Zeb? Well, we're going to talk about Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. That's right. Have you tried that oven-ready marinated prime rib? It melts in your mouth. Delicious. Oh my goodness, all the meats from Scarrows Meats, absolutely phenomenal. Your hometown meat cutter, locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years, Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we are looking at more snow showers in the forecast as we kick off the work week. Here is your weather for today. Snow likely anywhere from 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast. Now we are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that is our time frame of snow pretty much. Winds out of the northwest right around 18 miles an hour for today. High of 32, tonight low of 25. Hopefully those snow showers will be tapering off overnight. We are expecting another 1 to 3 inches in the overnight hours, low of 25. For tomorrow, looks like 50% chance of snow showers, still going to be a little bit on the breezy side. High of 26 with an overnight low of 18, then cloudy skies and 24 for Wednesday. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow. Enough. How about it? No more angel dandruff for a while, please. Oh, the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. Nice people. Tomorrow on the program, Frosty Woldridge is going to be here. Dr. History is going to be here. I got some surprises. Why are they surprises? Because I'm surprised I didn't fill those blanks yet. I got to take care of that. And we'll have another interesting program. Boy, today, great guests. We had the Pacific Legal Foundation on, Alliance Defending Freedom, Media Research Center, Bill Bullard with RCAF. Wow, great folks. Hey, by the way, don't forget, with these bad road conditions, you need the traction tires, the snow and the ice, the yuck and the muck tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got all the tires for your four-wheeled wonders, your cars, pickups, SUVs, etc. Please don't put it off. With all the snow that's coming in here, make sure you drive safer with the best of traction tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And I've mentioned this before, and I had a lady call me last week on this. They've got the neatest little winter driving resource guide that tells you basically how to drive in the various winter conditions and about your snow tires and about your batteries and how to put on tire chains. All of this revolves around one word called service. They really care about you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. You better believe it. That's going to wrap it up for today. Wheels, guess where I have to go possibly a little bit early tomorrow?
Physical therapy.
The dentist.
Ooh, I need to make an appointment to get in there myself, so maybe I'll end up seeing it.
I have the cavity that is the mother of all cavities. It is speaking to me right now, and it's not a very nice thing.
Cavities are never a nice thing, and if you get more than one, oh, Lord, you're in for it, aren't you?
Well, I'm in for it. I may have to talk to you about leaving a little bit early on tomorrow's program to make the appointment because I'm not going to put this off. I feel like I have a couple of real small people in my mouth with sledgehammers, and it hurts.
I could definitely believe that. Cavities are not fun, so just let me know and we'll rearrange something, and I hope everything goes well.
I do too, but I don't like to go to the dentist. I'm scared.
But the feeling afterwards, let me tell you, the feeling afterwards and just the fact that your mouth got what it needed and just the whole clean feeling that you get from it, it's the best feeling.
Oh, don't try to flower it up. All right, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow morning, everybody, at 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock. We'll ride the horse for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. God bless you and your families. And remember, the way things were, the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.